Hi, I've been playing with this synthesizer module, and I wanted to share with you some of the sounds I've been making with it. You can't see it yet because I haven't zoomed in on it yet, but it's called Himalia, and it's by I.O. Instruments. And I.O. Instruments has not asked me to demo this product. I just felt the impulse to share what I was doing as I was doing it. As I was considering how to configure this video, I thought it would be a good time to talk about how a module like this fits into a modular system like what's up here. So this is primarily going to be a talking video with a little bit of sound to demonstrate what I'm talking about. Maybe it could serve as an overview of modular synthesis for anybody who's curious. Or for someone who already knows what modular synthesis is all about, it could be a way of seeing how someone else interacts with their system. So, in succeeding videos, I could deepen it or expand upon it, depending on where the investigation leads me. We'll see how it goes. First, I want to talk a little bit about why I'm doing this. The thing that drew me to this hobby initially, even before I could afford any of this stuff when I was a teenager, was the combination of three things. It was the open-ended creative possibilities that it provides, and its appeal to the spirit of exploration, and to the scientific discipline of electrical engineering. These three things were the things that appealed to me, and they were combined in this hobby perfectly. I love listening to music, and I've always wanted to create the kind of beauty that I've heard other people make. I'd like to list off a bunch of influences, but the list would be too long. I'd miss some important ones, and it wouldn't serve anybody. After I'm done recording this, I'll make the list as best I can, and I'll put it up here on the screen. The point is that different aspects of a wide variety of music inspire me to explore my thoughts and express my feelings through music. And it seems to me that the instruments involved with modular synthesis and the genre that we have created specifically using these instruments provide a broad enough palette to allow exploration of all those thoughts and feelings. Because this instrument is specially suited to allow anyone, regardless of their training, to create music to delight the ears. And the deeper point of this discussion is that when I listen to any of these songs on that list, it's not I don't feel inspired to actually replicate that song on the modular synthesizer. It's to use the synth to evoke the same depth of emotion or excitement or wonder that I felt when I listened to Goldberg Variations or whatever. I find that this instrument lends itself very easily to leading me into a state of curiosity. And jamming on one module for a long time, even though it's not interesting to an outside audience, it fulfills a deep need in me for aimless exploration. I mean, that is play. That is the essence of play for me. And one of the most delightful aspects of this kind of composition or improvisation is the opportunity to harness chance. I'm looking here. Some of these modules do exactly what you patch them to do, but some of them are designed to surprise you. Like the circuit in there creates random things. I'm looking at you, Pamela. Pamela's Workout is the name of a module. So by interacting with these devices, the artist is the audience and the performer at the same time. It's an individual artistic activity. And I don't share 90% of what I create on this thing because it's for me. And the things that I discover, like today, I feel the need to share. So there's a community out there of modular synthesists who are interested in hearing, maybe jamming on one module for an hour. And I hope that, like you, maybe, listening, there are people who are curious but don't have the knowledge to understand what's going on in the screen. All they see is the flashing lights and bleepity bloops. So maybe this will go a little further to helping you understand what you're hearing and appreciating it. Alright, while I attach this, I want to let you know that this video is not meant to be the kind of thing that instructs people on which modules they should buy. And it's not really even planned to detail the nature of electronic sound, although I will touch on those points as I go through and explore the larger topic. But it's not a structured tutorial. And if that's what you're looking for, there are excellent tutorials online offered by much more knowledgeable people than me. And I will, maybe I'll list them here. Boom, 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 boom. It's meant to be a meandering inquiry that should inspire you to dig deeper into the various ideas that I bring up. So let's look at I/O Instruments Himalia. So just as an overview, before we make sound with it, I just wanted to point out that this side of the module, the way they've organized it, is designed to accept signals through a patch cable like this. And you plug the patch cable in like this, and it changes whatever the output side is putting out. So that's the input side, this is the output side. So then each one of these patch points creates a different sound. So this one, actually these two are white noise sounds. This one's created through analog circuitry and it has kind of a creamier sound, and this one's created through digital programming because there's a little microchip down here on the circuit board. So I'll play these for you. This knob here controls the texture and timbre of the analog, and this knob controls the texture of the digital. So I'll play this. You'll just be hearing it through the camera mic, so it might not be completely clear, but I think you'll know. So that's the analog sound, and this is digital. So I think you can tell, at least a little bit through the camera mic. And in a few minutes, I'll plug this into the recorder directly, so you can hear the beauty of white noise. But there are applications for each one of these. Sometimes you actually do want a raspy kind of sound, and sometimes you just want a creamier sound. And I'll go into that more deeply, because these are the two aspects of this module that I use the most. I really love white noise, and there's actually another video on my channel that explores white noise in detail. But first I'm going to go through these other ones, just if you're curious. This one creates a square wave, and a square wave is a kind of signal that it's symbolized by this little square wave. And you've heard it go all the way down to just little clicks, and that is the product of having this kind of signal that just is basically at its lowest rate is just a click. But as I turn up this grain knob, it squeezes those clicks closer and closer together until it becomes a sound. So that's useful. It's very useful for generating pulses, as you'll see later, probably. And you probably already noticed that this grain knob also controlled the digital noise, and it's because it's the same little microcontroller that's creating the digital noise and the square wave. So next is this section of purple knobs. It's called the sample section. From popular culture, we're accustomed to hearing the word sample and identifying it as a tiny clip of a song or a sound. But in this context, they're referring to a completely different process. It's a software-based sound that is generated by pre-programmed formulas and then manipulated into stretched out or sped up sequences when the music twists a knob. It reminds me a lot of my little glitch storm. Actually, where is that? It is right here. So this produces very similar sounds. I'll plug both of these things in and you can kind of compare the sounds that come out of them. Put that right there. The program, I mean the code, when I look up the code for Glitchstorm, which is open source, and this, which is also open source, they look similar to me. This uses I think the same kind of microcontroller chip. It's programmed in Arduino. So they've provided the access to the program so we can actually tweak it. There's a little USB thing on the back of this circuit board that I could plug into and upload my own Arduino program for creating sounds. So I'll play that for you just to give you, we'll do a comparison. See what I mean by speeding up or slowing down the melody? It's really interesting. Okay, so this one is the Glitchstorm sound. It's out. This out? Okay, that's enough. I think this is one of those moments when I could have gone on and on, but this is similar, isn't it? Don't you think? So this last section here has a square wave symbol, the same one from above, but it has 6x above it. And that means this uses 6 tones, 6 square waves, to create a chord. And this little range here, you can't see it, but it goes from 1 to 16, helps you to select the intervals between those tones to create this massive chord. And this one also, you can see, has a little tuning fork next to it. It's the same tuning fork as above, and that also does the same thing. You can tune this tone. Whoop, sorry. So high, low, very similar to this guy. But changing the intervals ooh, that's nice. I'm going to plug that into the recorder so you can hear this stereo. That is really cool. So I'm going to keep this droning. That's what basically all these provided, is just one long continuous tone. And we're going to talk about the inputs, because that's when synthesis happens. It's when you introduce another signal to synthesize a completely different sound. And we call it modulation. So modulation means changing the mode of something. And in this context, it means converting a signal's mode of transmission from merely electrical energy to acoustic energy, or from something you can't hear to something you can hear. Oh, and that's where this DIY module comes in. So I have a patch point here. It's my clock, and this knob down here, you can't really see it because I haven't actually put a knob on it right now. It's just a shaft for a potentiometer. But this controls the rate that the pulses click at. So if you listen to it, let's see if I can just plug this in. So that sounds a lot like this, doesn't it? It's a little more rapid. Wait a minute, is that the right one? No, that's the right one. Same idea though. It's just little ticks, and you increase it and it eventually makes a sound. But its basic, the most basic form is just a little pulse of energy that that makes the speaker go doink just a little bit without any kind of tone. But if I plug it into the patch point of the input patch point of this module, So this signal, this chord signal, was being modulated by this little clock. And there was also, you could hear, it was sort of amping it up. It was adding energy at the same time as it was pulsing it. It was an ugly sound, and I would never do that for myself, but maybe somebody, I don't know, some industrial musician would do that. I'm looking for something that has a little more recognizable musicality to it. So that's when we start adding more modules. And I'm just going to stick with the white noise, let's say, just to keep it consistent with this sound source. There are other sound sources. There's actually modules that provide a nice clean tone, sort of like this square wave. But even cleaner and prettier. So I'll get to that. But first I want to just experiment with this, with modulating this module. So what we need to do is take this clock and add it to a module called voltage controlled amplifier. I'm basically taking this voltage, amplifying it to this one so that we can actually control this white noise with this. But it takes another module to do that. No, actually, let me see what happens when I do this. Yeah, not much. This isn't really intended to be a whole synthesizer in one module. You need other stuff to play with it. So I'm going to take a few seconds and put this in the modular case that it came from, because that's where all my other modules are, and it's easier to patch them in. But I did want to point out, here, listen to this. I made this DIY thing because I really wanted to make some white noise, and I created a little circuit that would create white noise, and it you know, I mean, that's all. If that's all it was, it would just been a little dinky thing in the panel. So I included that in a clock and this other function, which I don't think that works anymore. I'll figure that out. But listen to this. You hear that? I'm going to put that on the recorder. It's quite different. It's a little statikier. It's a little more organic. It's because it's a really simple circuit. Actually, let me see if I can just pull it out and show it to you. Yeah, it's right there. It's this guy. I labeled it noise. So it's really simple. It's just 2 transistors, some resistors and capacitors, like basically 8 components. So I would kind of toss this whole module because I don't need white noise anymore. I don't need these other ones because they are just duplicating functions of other things that I have now. But I really like the quality of this white noise. Just listen to it for a little second. I'll put some pictures on the screen. Actually, what I'll do is I'll play this noise while I'm setting up the next phase. I guess I got to turn this off because I got to unplug some stuff. So I'm just going to record this for a few seconds and play that over while I do that. Okay, so now we have the Himalia on the same rack as four other instruments made by I/O Instruments. And what I'm going to do is, the only one that I don't have by I/O Instruments that I need is the one that I'm going to use today. But they make something similar. They make a function generator, which basically takes a pulse, and I'm going to use this pulse of this little square wave I made. I'm not going to use my clock because I want to keep it all in one. So we're going to make a little pulse with this square wave and use it to trigger this function generator, which will, and the function generator basically just plays with the voltages that get sent to modulate the signal. And the voltage of the very beginning part of the signal, they call it the attack, it can adjust it with this knob, and then the voltage at the very tail end I can adjust with this knob. So the attack can be very sharp, which is like very well, on this end it looks like zero attack, and at the very other end it would be a very slow, like as if you're drawing a bow across a string of a bass instrument, or I think of bass instruments, of a violin. And the decay is the same idea. If you put very little decay according to this configuration, then the signal will just continue and then stop whenever you stop the pulse coming from here. But if you turn it all the way to the very other end of the range, it will, when this pulse stops, the sound will continue and kind of taper off very slowly. So playing with this kind of helps that one little pulse, which sounded like a tack, 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 to actually start sounding like an instrument or something expressive. So that's what we're going to do. And these are the only two instruments, the only two modules that we're going to use. The Himalia and this well, we also call this an envelope generator. This envelope generator made by Qubit. But to combine them, we have to use this voltage controlled amplifier. So as you see, the pink cables coming out of the out patch point to this section where, look, you can even see the little arrow, the input, and the out of the white noise is going into this little symbol that symbolizes an audio input. And then I'm just going to take this out to the amplifier so you can hear it. So So here I have just adjusted the attack to allow it to go. If I went all the way down to the bottom, it's basically what you hear coming out of this. But since the decay is all the way down, it goes. Turn the decay up. So that sounds like a good percussion instrument. And let's use this module against itself. I'm going to feed some of the, actually what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move this patch cable up to this more random signal that's coming from the digital white noise and see what that does. I think I know what it'll do, but let's find out. Very interesting. So as I turn this up, I am assuming that the pulses are going to be so close together that this won't even be able to read it. You can probably see the little light here flashing as the pulses arrive. So that happened, basically we're feeding white noise into white noise. So that's not so interesting. But what if, instead of using the white noise, I'm going to use this chord. Push this button, see what happens. Oh yeah. So at this point, my mind goes to, I don't want to just hear a tong, 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 tong. I want to hear a series of notes changing. So what we need to do is use one more module to increase or decrease the amount of voltage going to this cord. And if we increase the amount of voltage going to the cord, then we get a higher note. And if we decrease the amount going to it, we get a lower note. Kind of like what we did with that clock. But with the clock, it was just kind of ugly and random. Well, they make devices that sequence notes in order, and they're called sequencers. And I have one up here on this rack. It's right here. And I featured it in a previous, actually I have two next to each other. This is also a sequencer. This one's easier to read. You can see the little lights flash as the sequence progresses through each tone. So each one of these potentiometers I can adjust down or up to change the amount of voltage going out. So what I will do is I will attach this and here's where it gets a little more complicated. I'm going to need to take this tone and I'm going to need to use, I'm going to take, this tone, which is broken down to the very most basic element of it, which is the pulse. So I need to take that pulse and I need to duplicate it so that the same pulse that's coming into this envelope generator is also going to the thing that generates, that kind of clocks the sequence, so that as the pitch changes, also this changes, so they work together, like a little, like you're playing a guitar or blowing into a flute. So I need to use one more module. This is how people get sucked into modular synthesis. So I'm taking this clock pulse and I'm putting it, let's see, where's a good one? I'd say that this is a good one. So this is just a thing that sends the same signal to, it takes this signal and transfers it to these 3 patch points. So I can do this and go over here to the clock, and you can see that now that's running. Let's see if I can focus in on that. And that's running at the same rate as that sends out. And I will add another. There we go. So now we have this pink wire coming up to sort of multiplied this green into 2. One goes to the sequencer and one goes down to this envelope generator. I kind of see the envelope. Why is it called an envelope? Well, it's basically the package that each tone is contained in. And you change the package by changing these, by twisting these knobs. That's the only reason I can figure it's called an envelope generator. So let's see how that sounds. Oh, I gotta plug this from the sequencer in here. That sounds better already. I mean, it doesn't sound great, but okay. One more thing. Let's twiddle these knobs until it sounds good. That's kind of a funny little sequence. I just, I'm dealing it by ear. How about, instead of a regular beat, we switch this over to this This is random. This is regular. All right. So there's one other thing I want to do with this module before I continue on with expanding what we can do with a modular system. And that's, I'm going to mess around with this sample section, these purple knobs, because I've never played with it. It's something that it seems kind of like a novelty, but as I've been preparing for this video, I kind of warmed up to it. So let me see what I can do. I would like to, so just to be clear what I'm doing here, I'm going to take this clock pulse, I'm going to make it into an envelope here, and I'm going to feed that into the sample. Bizarre. And without it, bizarre. I'm going to stop that right there. That is interesting. It's interesting sounds come out of that. But I have to admit that if someone had given me a tape of this music, it wouldn't be as interesting. Especially if they told me they just turned on a synthesizer and pushed a button and let it run. What's fascinating for me is that I can twist a knob and make something happen. And that's the fun part of this, and also of my other ones. I actually have 2 of these little glitch storms. That's one version. That's another version. And I put them in their little cases, just like little robots. So, oh wait a minute, there's another one. Yeah, this one I encased completely, except for this. You still have to access these buttons here, so everything else can be played with up here. Anyway, even though I appreciate these microcontroller-based modules, like especially Platts, given to me by a friend, or sold to me by a friend, and rings, these create sounds that I really enjoy, and I don't think I could create them any other way. They're programmed on a computer, and that's fine with me. I wanted to address something else too. Let me just sit down here. This is my farewell address for this video. I started buying these things because I was very curious about electronics themselves, like how they create sound on the very basic level. So that's why I have all this stuff. I just sort of collected it, and as you saw, one more thing. Oh, I need a thing to do a thing, and pretty soon I had this. And I knew about VCV Rack, for example, and other computer-based synthesis programs, but that was only half of it. Half of it was learning how to do it. And I did use an early version of, what was that? It was by Native Instruments. It's called Absinthe. And I used that to learn how synthesis worked. And I didn't even buy the program. I just used the free version, and then it would time out after 10 minutes. You couldn't even record anything on it, I think, if I remember correctly. But I just use it to get my head around what synthesis is, so that I could make a good decision about what kind of modules to buy. Having said that, if I'd had access to the kind of software that's available now, it's possible that I wouldn't have purchased all this stuff. So I think a good route for learning is using VCV Rack or any of the other cheap programs you can buy for your DAW, and they make, I mean, the white noise that they make sounds exactly like the white noise that I generate here. Maybe a little bit not as crackly as my DIY version, but it sounds good. It sounds the same. So if I can recommend anything, don't buy this stuff before you learn. And if all you want to do is like make music, then do it on the computer for cheap. You can also just experiment around. There's so much you could do. I don't regret buying this, but there's one more thing I wanted to do. Just wanted to show what else you can do with white noise, because up until now I just showed that you can make kind of a hissing sound like a cymbal or a tambourine, and also then just make a long hissing sound that just never ends. But I find that when you pair white noise with the sound of an oscillator, like this little guy, it gives the sound a little grit, like it's an actual instrument. And I think our ears, even if you don't hear it like up front in the music, I think our ears or our brains or whatever happens inside our bodies responds to that like it's a real thing. And you can tell when something is really fake, like when there's something that's just been computer generated too smoothly. It doesn't sound real to us. We need to hear something like kind of that our emotions can hook into. So that's one issue, and that's one aspect or one use of it. The other aspect is, even though, like I said, I'm not too keen on the randomness, just as for the sake of creating random sounds, but it can act as a texture with pitches too. And I would use the digital. I think that's what they kind of planned for us to do. Use this digital white noise to activate an oscillator using a sample and hold. And that is, it's on this. I only have one thing that does sample and hold. Where is it? Oh, down here. S and H. So I'll patch that up and show you what it is, and that'll be the last thing we listen to in this video. It's been a long video. Thank you for hanging out and watching this stuff. I should say also that if you're watching and you're wondering why I have so much of this, the modules in this case are duplicated in that case. Like almost, there's an oscillator in each one, there's a filter in each one, there's a VCA in each one. The only thing that's additional in this one are the sequencers and the clock. And this is a whole different thing. I call this a function generator made by Make Noise. It's a company that I have a lot of modules by. So that's just to say, that's what all this junk is. I might go into it later, but first I will patch up this sample and hold so you can hear what you can do, what you can use the digital stuff for as a modulator instead of being modulated. Okay, so I'm gonna put this over here. See that little symbol there? That's a metronome. It's a symbol of a metronome, how fast this thing is running. So I can go nice and slow, still random, or simulated random. The computer has a formula that simulates a randomness, but it's not real random, like that. Anyway, increase the tempo so that it almost sounds like static. But I've attached it to this. Okay, so another fun part of it is to take the out from this sample and hold, and right now I have just going into the VCA, but plug it into here. That's kind of cool. But one more thing, actually. As you see, I have another I/O Instruments module here. It's called the Misto, and it's an oscillator. And you see there's little pictures of other kinds of waveforms. There's the little square wave we've been using, but there's all sorts of other ones here. So I'm going to use a sine wave, which is a smooth wave. And I'm going to do the same thing. Instead of using this, I will use this, and instead of plugging it into there, I'll plug it into the in of this and listen to it now. Just like R2-D2. So with that, I'm going to say goodbye. I don't know what you would use that for musically, but it sounds like a robot, so that's good. It's a good use for it. So thank you for watching this video, and I hope that maybe with feedback, maybe we could do this again, and I could explore more of this stuff. I don't know. It'll be another rambling thing. This is a very long video.